échame más tus pinches mentiras, ojete.
No, jefe, pues es la puritita verdad lo que le digo. Es todo.
Te voy a matar, cabrón.
Ay, Diosito santo. Ay, ay, ay.
No metas a Dios en esto, cabrón. Te voy a tomar una foto para tenerte en mi colección.
Simón.
De uno de los tantos pendejetes
Okay, jefe.
que han llorado, cabrón, diciendo que no tiene nada, mas sin embargo eres un maldito lacra de la pinche sociedad.
Okay.
Que envenena, cabrón. Pero le agradezco a Dios que te mande para así poder divertirme con ustedes, ojete. Y agradece que no tengo mi martillo, cabrón.
Morales Guevara, aka El Marino Loko, the crazy Marine, was not your ordinary soldier in the Mexican military. He was a man on a mission, a force to be reckoned with, and a symbol of hope for all citizens who hoped for a safer life. Morales rose to prominence for his courageous and very dedicated efforts in fighting against the Gulf Cartel in Mexico. El Marino Loko is mostly known for his unorthodox and some not exactly legal methods, but hey, the results speak for themselves. He hunted some of the most dangerous drug traffickers, dressed them in lingerie, and exhibited them on social media, among other things, but more on that in a minute. One of his other infamous nicknames was Thor, or El Señor Martillo in Spanish, which literally means Mr. Hammer. And trust me when I say that this nickname was not given to him due to his resemblance to the Marvel hero. He's credited with taking down the Comandante Toro of the Gulf Cartel, one of the most dangerous drug traffickers in the organization, who once murdered a former US Marine, an owner of a ranch, after his family couldn't pay the full ransom. The cartel asked for 1.5 million pesos, but they could only pay him 800,000, so he had him killed in cold blood. See, the Gulf Cartel is a very powerful criminal organization based in northeastern Mexico, primarily operating in the states of Tamaulipas and Nuevo León. The cartel, founded in 1930 by a former police officer, Juan Nepomucemo Guerra, has been one of the dominant players in Mexico's drug trade for decades, controlling the smuggling of cocaine, marijuana, crystal meth, and other drugs into the United States. The Gulf Cartel has been also indulging in a wide range of other criminal activities, including money laundering, extortion, homicide, and kidnapping. But their real expertise lies in their brutal tactics, including beheadings and other gruesome acts of violence against rivals and law enforcement officials. So as you can imagine, it takes someone with real balls to face such an organization. And that's where El Marino Loko comes in. Morales Guevara's journey to becoming a Mexican Marine was not an easy one. In 2007, he was selected to join the newly formed Naval Special Forces Unit, which was tasked with fighting drug trafficking and organized crime syndicates. He had to undergo rigorous training, endure grueling missions, and face constant danger and uncertainty. But through it all, he remained fully committed in his pursuit of justice and freedom, and his determination inspired his fellow soldiers and citizens alike. One of the things that set Morales Guevara apart was his ability to think creatively and strategically in combat. And trust me, creative he was. He was not content with simply following orders or relying on traditional tactics. Instead, he was always looking for new and innovative ways to outsmart the cartel bosses and stay one step ahead of them. Whether it was using disguises, setting traps, or utilizing technology, Morales Guevara was always pushing the limits of what was possible. He would announce his operations through social media.
Una vez le digo que no vamos a llevar ningún pinche prisionero. ¿Ya sabe cómo trabajo?
Vamos a empezar el show.
He would also hunt sicarios and drug leaders with extreme violence, dressing them in women's underwear and taking pictures with them. In addition to dressing them in lingerie, El Marino Loko liked to make fun of his prisoners and humiliate them in photos and videos, which, as you can imagine, drove the drug lords completely crazy.
I'll kill him, I swear to God, I'll kill him!
One of them was the so-called Comandante Toro, Julian Manuel Luis Salinas, one of the Gulf Cartel who offered 5 million pesos for Loco's head. Loco's strategy was not to make them fear him, though. What he was really after was to humiliate them, to exhibit them beaten up and dressed in women's lingerie. There are rumors he also forced them to perform homosexual acts to entertain his comrades and followers on social media. This is what happened with El Mimido, the head of the cartel, whom he dressed in women's clothing and made him kiss his hitmen.
Yuck.
When asked about his methods, Marino Loko explained, "Among these criminals, there must be someone who commands and runs the show. That man must be consistently macho, bossy, an alpha dog, and when I catch them by dressing them as women, humiliating them, making them kiss the others, and making them dance and posing as women, it's a way to humiliate them and remind them that they will never be who they think they are." The soldier not only humiliated the hitmen, he also raided the homes of the capos, destroyed their valuable belongings, and even stole the ashes of their family members. Yup, this is what happened with Silvestre Aro Rodriguez, aka El Chive, the Gulf Cartel's plaza boss in Tampico. The Marine took away the ashes of his deceased father, who knows where or how he disposed of them. Of course, the capos tried anything and everything in their power to discredit him and get their revenge. They accused him of accepting bribes from the criminal group. However, the military personnel denied these claims, and El Marino commented on these accusations as follows. "The bad guys, the toughest ones, those who were the plaza chiefs or the regional chiefs, for those it was just hate, because no matter how much they sent me messages, money, gifts, women, anything a man could be tempted by, well, I sent it back to the messenger with a message loud and clear. Women, money, alcohol, or drugs do not satisfy me. I want you." Of course, Morales Guevara was not without his critics. Some accused him of being too aggressive or reckless in his pursuit of the cartel bosses, while others questioned the legality and ethics of some of his methods. During one of his operations, when a drug kingpin tried to escape, Morales took a meat tenderizer and threw it at his head, knocking him unconscious. And that, my friend, is how he got the nickname Thor. But Morales Guevara was not one to shy away from controversy or criticism. He knew that the fight against organized crime required bold and decisive action, and he was willing to do whatever it took to protect his fellow citizens and eradicate the narco plague.
Yeah, he was tough.
The US media described him as a man who was always covered with a hood that covered his face, and who often warned drug traffickers through his social media that he would start the show just hours before he would bust them. He rarely failed when seeking a target, and he always preferred confrontation over capture.
Le prometo, Beto, Canelo, Chuy, los camellos, la cosa y toda la bola de culeros, esos que ponen hasta la madre. Eso es lo que tengo pendiente y luego sale su madre.
Morales' team had been involved in a series of important detentions and seizures of cash, drugs, and weapons that seriously disrupted the operations of drug cartels. Sadly, Morales Guevara's career was cut short when he was killed in a shootout with members of the Gulf Cartel. But his legacy lives on, not just in memories of those who knew and loved him, but in the countless lives he touched and the positive impact he made on Mexico's fight against organized crime. In the end, Morales Guevara was not just a Mexican Marine, but a hero, a visionary, and a true patriot. His story is a testament to the power of courage, determination, and creativity in the face of adversity, and a reminder that one person can make a difference in the world if they're willing to take a stand and fight for what they believe in.